The Rio Grande Valley has had a lot of great contributors to education, history, and science, but no one bigger than a man by the name of John Hunter. His name comes up often when you talk major accomplishments on both sides of the border. Cameron County Historical Commissioner Gene Fernandez highlights a few of his major contributions to his beloved Brownsville.
I'm going to reveal a story that's totally amazing. It centers on the subject of giants in South Texas. Yes, there were giants here, at least one giant, not the mythical kind, this is the real kind. It is concerning John H. Hunter. John H. Hunter was born at the turn of the century in Central Texas, and he and his family came down here in about 1922. They set up a refrigeration company, and by 1929, it was hard for them because of the Depression, but by their personality, and specifically his, they built a thriving business. Almost immediately, John Hunter got into civic affairs and volunteerism. His first real assignment or his effort was to be seen as the president of the Rotary. Then he became president of the Chamber of Commerce in about 1939. And then in 1943 and 1944, he was president of Charro Days. Now, let's stop on that for just a moment. Charro Days was a tremendous celebration back in those years. And the available photos of John Hunter show him in the elaborate Charro Days outfits and all of that. It's really a beautiful sight to see. There were about 5 or 6 landmark legacies that John Hunter gave to the area here. He just didn't talk about things, he did them. And let me go through a couple of them. The first issue, as I said, that he contributed to in a legacy sense was Charro Days, because he gave greatly to that organization and to that festivity. Then we come up to the period that involves the building behind me. This is the Jacob Brown Auditorium Complex that was completed in about 1954, mind you. The section that is right at my rear here was named specifically the Zachary Taylor Library, hence the books. And that's where John Hunter really gave a physical legacy beyond his volunteerism. The Zachary Taylor Library was the second real home for Brownsville's library collection, but it was in a creative sense because it then evolved into a city college library, and it all started right here. I remember this library when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I remember walking in and seeing Yolanda Gonzalez, which is another person that was involved in this. Now, in the year 1954, immediately, John Hunter had just joined the board of Texas Southmost College, 1950 and 52. In 1954, he started a collection here because he saw the inventory of what Brownsville had in the way of books, maps, and whatever. What kind of inventory was that? We had the actual documents from the Mexican War period, from the Civil War period, from the Mexican Revolution period, and they were all housed right here because this was an origin site for all of that. So he started collecting these volumes and maps and photographs over into, and it was named the John Hunter Collection. After he died, it was called the John Hunter Memorial Library. The Hunter Collection, or the Memorial Collection, is still resident here in Brownsville, but it's been in transition since the year of about 2015 or so. Put a prayer on whatever altar that you face, that particular collection comes back into being, that being made available to the public, because it is so important. All of the academia that would have access to it would have a gold mine at their disposal. Upon that point of it being named the John Hunter Memorial Library, this particular building was superseded by another library that was at Texas Southmost College. So I've mentioned several involvements of his, the Chamber of Commerce, Charro Days, the library, and whatever. But there was a very interesting contribution that he gave, and it started about 1963, 65 in that area. And it was centered on the Rancho del Cielo down in Tamaulipas, not too far from Victoria. He was enamored with this particular project. The ranch itself was about 400 acres, and it was started by a Canadian, and then it was inherited a little bit later on by a Frank Harrison. Frank Harrison passed away, but he was a very good friend of John Hunter's. And prior to that, John Hunter put a lot of time into arranging this. And these were the wishes of Frank Harrison, to have the ranch down there donated to Texas Southmost College as a research laboratory for nature. That particular research laboratory was a gift to the students of botany, biology, and whatever, because it was a little microcosm of beautiful nature tucked away in the mountains of Mexico. He worked on that project for very, very many years. And of course, then he finally got it evolved on over into the possession in a trust for Texas Southmost College. The legacies that John Hunter gave to our community show a man that was constantly focusing on what was good for his area. He got involved with these projects in a manner that was so dedicated, and the rest is history. For KVEO News, I'm Eugene Fernandez.